Hi, my name is Joanna Doherty, and this is my Kratom story. I am a 61-year-old bilingual counselor and educator, working predominantly with children who have cancer and with their families. And I am what's known as an end-of-life specialist. I accompany people at the ends of their lives, and particularly children. And I also do a lot of bereavement counseling, particularly in the areas of child loss and the nightmare of that most horrible experience. I have never been a robustly healthy person. I developed chronic fatigue syndrome in my late 20s, and that was when it was first being accepted or acknowledged as a true health condition, although very little was known about it at that time. In the mid 1990s, I suffered a very toxic exposure, which almost immediately, aside from making me severely ill, resulted in the development of several autoimmune conditions: fibromyalgia, interstitial cystitis, which is a bladder condition, and colitis, which most people are familiar with, an intestinal nightmare. Within 5 years after that toxic exposure, I also developed two stage 3 cancers, bladder cancer and colorectal cancer. The aggressive treatments needed because of the staging and development of those cancers was very, pardon, I have birds and they get quite happy when I'm talking, so bear with their chirping and carrying on. Anyway, because of the underlying conditions that I already had, the aggressive radiation, particularly treatment and chemos, were very risky because it would have been simply too much for my body to stand. I went through it anyway. It was the only way to guarantee me a good survival rate, and I was rendered disabled as a result. I have what's called pelvic radiation disease, which is basically the consequence of having been fried by radiation. And I needn't get into the ins and outs of that. It's simply the main cause of my disability, which is also exacerbated by the other painful conditions that I have. As a result, I was prescribed very willingly many narcotics for pain relief, which I needed and I will need for the rest of my life. It was not difficult to get those narcotics prescribed to me because today, finally, when I go to a doctor and they see my records, I almost always get the response, "My goodness, you've been through a lot." And people feel sympathetic towards me because when they read my records, it's evident that I experience a lot of pain on a regular basis every day. And that will worsen, and that will be for the rest of my life. No matter what I take, I will always need pain relief. The narcotics that I took for over a decade were life-limiting, I would say, at very least. I became quite, I would say, cushioned or suffocated under the cloud of narcotic dullness. I would say that intellectually I was limited. I would say cognitively I suffered truncated thoughts and speech. I know that every 2 to 3 minutes when I was speaking, I would lose track of what I was saying. I'd suddenly and unexpectedly find myself absolutely blank. I had no idea what I had been talking about. I had no idea. And those who know me well enough or were in my presence would say, "Oh, Joanna, you were talking about this thing," or "You were talking about that thing." And I would get back to the conversation at hand. It was extremely disconcerting and embarrassing that this would happen, and there was absolutely no way of my controlling it. I played it off by pointing up my energetic and multifaceted thinking, and that's why I lost track of my thoughts. But that wasn't it at all. I would simply find myself utterly blank, not knowing what the heck I had been talking about. That was a very disconcerting, shame-giving result of the narcotics that I was taking. To boot, I was on 3 different occasions unconscious and vomiting, and I only took my prescribed dosage of medications. I learned later that this is something that's very common with those who are taking narcotics. It only takes 1 pill within dosage guidelines on top of a weakened and weary body to take somebody out. That's why we have so many deaths, over 100 a day, due to narcotic overdose, accidental narcotic overdose. 3 times. Had I not been accompanied by somebody, I would be yet another statistic. I wouldn't be here. I'd be dead. And I never took over my prescribed dosages. I joined a chronic pain group on Facebook, and in that group somebody mentioned Kratom. I had heretofore tried unsuccessfully every kind of alternative remedy that I could to try to diminish or decrease my taking narcotics, and to try to find something that was natural and not harmful, as it was very evident these narcotics were. And when I saw somebody mention Kratom, I thought, heck, I'll look into it. Interestingly, that person was kicked out of the chronic pain group because the pain group did not allow Kratom to be addressed there. They claimed that this was some type of drug pushing or something along those equally ignorant and dull-minded attitudes towards this natural plant. When I researched it, I found out that it was something that I definitely wanted to try. And after reading copious amounts on it, which are available online and everywhere, I decided to try it. That was over 3 years ago, before Thanksgiving in 2014. And I was absolutely floored that it worked. Kratom worked. I substituted out my narcotic dosages, and within a couple of months' time, I was able to literally leave behind every narcotic and pain relief pharmaceutical that I had been prescribed over these decade-plus period of time. Indeed, taking those narcotics almost always, with me and with many, many people whom I've talked to, requires then getting into sleep aids, sleep medications, and antidepressants, because narcotics very much interrupt natural sleep cycles, and that, along with pain and the dulled life that narcotics lead you to, very naturally and easily lend themselves to depression. And on New Year's Eve, 2014, I left all of it behind. And since then, I have not taken one pharmaceutical for pain relief, sleep medicine, or antidepressants. Withdrawals were severe and simply, to me, a extremely clear indicator of the dangerous quality of these drugs. I had been poisoned by them, and the withdrawals from them lasted many, many months, and with one drug lasted over a year. I was a very sick woman because I left these horrible poisons behind. Kratom has given me my life back. I have the same pain relief, if not better, than when I was taking these dangerous narcotics. And all in all, my life has been given back to me. I can speak in full sentences now. I have no problem once more presenting in professional situations and environments. And I was so enthused about this that I even became a co-administrator of a Kratom group on Facebook for several, probably half a year. It was nothing short of stunning to witness literally hundreds of people talk about their success with Kratom for getting off street drugs, for addressing pain, for addressing depression, for addressing general support for well-being and health. It was an absolute convincing experience to behold hundreds, if not more. I know there are thousands, but I personally have beheld hundreds at least of people who have been able to turn their lives around completely. People that have MS, people that have any number of ailments, back degeneration, cancers such as mine, stress, anxiety, addiction to street drugs, which I have seen incredible success stories about. I have spent now, as I say, 3 years taking this natural plant, and my life has been given back to me. My thoughts have been given back to me in an organized, presentable manner. And I have no worries regarding potential dropping dead from respiratory depression, which happens with narcotics every single day, hundreds of times. I have no worries about that. This is a safe product. It has returned me to a life that I thought that I would not have again. And my story is one of thousands of stories. It's nothing unusual. I know that my story reflects the experience of many, many scores and scores of people. Because I was able to leave pharmaceuticals behind, and because I know this to be true of many hundreds of people who were able to do the same thing by discovering and starting to use Kratom as a natural and beneficial and successful health supplement, it is a passionate issue to me, and I suppose what I would say is nothing short of criminal that any powers that be they DEA, be they FDA, have the plan of taking this natural plant away from us. The alarmist publications that have gone out, particularly recently by the FDA, referring to Kratom as a dangerous substance and providing information that is simply inaccurate, is, in my mind, an egregious overstepping of power. It is inaccurate to classify this plant as a dangerous potential harm to the public. This is so inaccurate and so ill-based that I can do nothing but question the motives of the FDA in wanting to schedule this as a dangerous drug. I find the motives, as I say, highly questionable and, if anything, rather clear-cut, as so many thousands with this incredible natural plant have been able to leave behind prescription drugs. I suppose that's all of my story. I can't say enough about this incredible natural plant. If it's taken away from me, I'll be forced to go back onto narcotics. I will lose my professional edge. I will lose my life, very possibly, since on 3 different occasions I could have lost it already. And that's unacceptable. I cannot abide anybody's telling me that I must not take something natural that has helped me so profoundly, because it's, in their mind, dangerous for me when the studies that they are quoting are inaccurate And there is robust, ample information out there that belies the claims of the FDA and others in mainstream media who are maligning this plant. I wish us all the luck in the world keeping this accessible to us all. It is a hope for people of all walks of life. It is a hope for addicts. It's a hope for people who have had chronic illnesses, such as I. It's a hope for so many, many people who do not want to fall into the dangerous trap of taking narcotics and pharmaceuticals and or street drugs, which many are forced to turn to in utter desperation. I know that certainly if I had not been prescribed pain medicine, narcotics that I didn't want anyway, if I had not been able to access those for the severe pain that I experience, I could have easily tried to find relief in the streets. This is not rocket science. It's sheer humans trying to live a life that is as pain-free and as beneficial as possible. Thank you so much, and may we all prevail in our fight to keep Kratom legal and accessible to us all. Thanks. Bye-bye.